Proverbs chapter 10, verse 12. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all sin. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all sin. You know, strife, problems, pressure, anxiety, these can come from people who are a source of stress, a source of not just annoyance or somebody who's in need, but somebody who's always negative, always looking to cause trouble. Have you ever met somebody like that? Doesn't matter what's going on, doesn't matter what social media platform you're on, doesn't matter if you're on Facebook or Twitter or where you're on, but all they want to do is cause strife. There's people like that at work, people like that in the church. All they want to do is cause division. It almost seems like their main goal is to stir up trouble. And that doesn't always mean by being obviously wicked. Sometimes it's being devious and talking about people behind their backs and making people think certain things by saying things a certain way, manipulating the situation to cause strife, to cause division. You be careful when somebody walks up to you and says, "Hey, did you hear about so-and-so? They blah, blah, blah." You got to watch out for those people. You got to confront them with the love of God and ask them, I've never experienced that with that person. Why don't you and I go talk to them about that? Why don't you and I go discuss that about them and see how fast that person turns away? We've got to understand what Solomon is saying here. He's saying that, hatred will always stir up strife. And if that's the case, then people who are causing trouble and being known as troublemakers, in every situation practically, they're hateful people, because there must be something there that they don't appreciate, don't like, they don't want to acknowledge, and so they go about it and they attack other people and they try to, I would say, slander and make other people look bad so that they look better. Put people down so that they can feel like they're lifted up. And that's just not the kind of person we want to be or the kind of person we want to be around. And in contrast to that, love covers all sins. Love covers all sins. So a loving person isn't there to cause trouble. We're there as Christians to be peaceful, to ask questions and speak words of life. And when we talk to people, we've got to have the idea that no matter what kind of person they are, whether they're saved or unsaved, that they are human beings, that they deserve grace and mercy as we've received grace and mercy until God judges them. We do not judge them. And we don't pray that God judges them. We don't wish harm on anybody. We don't want to cause strife, not even with our religious beliefs, not even with our convictions that we have. We don't want to cause strife. The Bible tells us through the Apostle Paul to, if at all possible, have peace with all men, have peace with all people. You don't have to disagree and hate people. We can disagree and still respect and love one another. And at the end of the day, whatever we put out is going to come back to us. It's the law of reaping and sowing. And so if we put out strife and we put out hatred, it is going to find its way back to us. And as Christians, we don't want that. We want the gospel to be preached. We want the life of Christ to be preached and the resurrection, death and resurrection of Christ to be preached, and that people can come close to God now because of Christ and Christ's love and Christ's mercy. And, the pastors and the preachers and the churches, and if we decide to disciple some people, we can talk about those things that are not the easy things of Christianity. We're not talking about Christianity light here. We're not saying that, you just have to go around and tell everybody it's an easy salvation. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about not arguing about every little thing, not causing strife, not trying to be a difficult person, or not even looking at ourselves so that we can treat people the way God expects us to treat them. And God says, if you've treated the least of these well, then you've treated me. If you've given them to drink, if you've given them to eat, you've given me to eat, you've given me to drink. So we need to understand We need to apply this to our lives, that we do not want to be a person who creates strife. And sometimes, I'll tell you what, I find myself having to quiet my own self and say, shh, because sometimes I just want to cause trouble, and it wells up inside of me, even as a Christian. And like Paul says, we got to put this sinful, the parts of us that are not transformed yet in our minds, we got to put these things these thoughts under the feet of Jesus, under the obedience of Christ. And we've got to give them to God, so that at the end of each day, we can lay our head on our pillows knowing that we did not cause strife, but we were the example of light and love that Jesus Christ wants us to be, speaking the truth in love. Till next time, may the Lord richly bless you, mobile teacher